In this video, we're going to check out a really cool battle of Marines versus Zombies built entirely in Unity ECS. We have a lot of units on screen, animation, AI, movement, and lots of interactions between systems and components. We're going to view how all of this works. Let's begin! Hello and welcome, I'm your Code Monkey, and this channel is all about helping you learn how to make your own games with in-depth tutorials made by a professional indie game developer. So if you find the video helpful, consider subscribing. Alright, so here we are in our scene, just a bunch of Marines sitting here waiting for the zombie apocalypse. Almost everything is built using Unity ECS. And over here are some zombies being spawned. Here they come, and as they approach, the Marines find them as targets and promptly start shooting. I can spawn more Marines by left-clicking, there you go, every time spawns one, and the number of zombies being spawned is constantly increasing. After a while, zombies start coming from the side, and they stop coming all over. As I said, most of this is built in Pure ECS, and if I pause the game, you can see over here on the hierarchy, there aren't many things. All of the things are the default effects that I haven't yet converted into ECS. But most of the units and behavior are handled by Pure ECS, and there are no mono behaviors in here. So the hierarchy looks mostly empty regarding the units. However, here on the entity debugger, here you can see a much different picture with a bunch of entities, all of them in a bunch of chunks, and a bunch of systems doing all the work. So here is our scene, and there's all of the Marines constantly fighting all the zombies, and they keep going, and I can spawn some more, and eventually they won't be overrun. Alright, so this is our very nice demo scene. We have two types of units, Marines and Zombies. The Marines are looking for their target, and once they get in range, they start getting shot. There are lots of extra effects to make the whole scene seem very nice, and as you can see, the more they are spawned, the more the circle closes in, and soon enough they won't be overrun. Okay, so this is a great demo scene. Now let's check out the code that makes all of this work. Now, this video is mostly intended as a demo of what can be done with ECS. So instead of a step-by-step tutorial, I'll go over a brief overview of how each system works. If you'd like to see a more in-depth step-by-step tutorial of any of these systems, then let me know in the comments. Also, if you have absolutely no idea how ECS works, then start by watching the video on getting started. After watching that video, a lot of what I'm going to show here will seem very familiar. Now, there are many systems that work in order to make this scene work. We have spawning, animation, AI, and movement using a lot of systems and components. There are also a handful of systems that use normal game objects, as you saw. Mostly they are things like the shoot flash, the flying body, or the blood particles, which can certainly be done in ECS, I just haven't ported them over yet. So let's go up here to start off with the simplest system. Here we have just our main bootstrap script. And here on the start function we initialize things, and we have a function to spawn a Marine, another one to spawn a zombie. So here is the spawn Marine function. We just spawn it using a certain archetype containing all of these components. Then we set all of the values for those components. And the zombie also has a lot of similar components. One of the main different are the tag components. So this one has the zombie tag and this one has the Marine tag. And if we check it out, you can see those are completely empty components, really just tags. The other components are these related to the animation system. Over here related to the quadrant and targeting system. Then a very simple health component, a component to deal with how much the Marine should shoot, a simple move to component, a component to handle the various animations that should be played, and a simple translation position component. So that's a way to spawn a Marine and a zombie. And down here on a simple mono behavior update, we are simply handling our camera and then the zombie spawning. Here it's just some timers and some spawn zombie count that increases over time. So here I could easily change this, and all of a sudden a mountain of zombies will be spawned. And here come a lot more zombies, and very soon these guys will be overrun, even if I spawn quite a few more. Okay, so that's our spawning system. It simply checks over time and constantly increases the amount of zombies that get spawned. And the components, as you saw, were different, so we can pause and look at the entity debugger. And here we can view all the chunks. And if we click on a simple entity, you can see that this one is a Marine, target range of 100, playing these animations, and in this position. So the spawning and the composition of the entities is quite basic. Another simple system is the movement. Over here, as you saw, we have a move to component. This component simply has a boolean to decide if he should move, and a position and a move speed. And then down here, there's a system. System runs on entities that I've moved to, translation, and the animation components. And we simply use it to do a simple distance check in order to move and play the correct animations. So again, very simple stuff. Then for the animation system, which is probably the most complex part of this demo, the animation system is essentially the same system I've built long ago but converted into ECS. So it's essentially the same thing that I've used in all of my videos. The way the system works is by having one mesh per frame of animation and a component that holds data to select which mesh that unit should use. In order to actually display the mesh, I have this component system right here. Essentially how it works is by cycling through all of the entities. Then it grabs the correct mesh based on the current frame of the animation and the animation type and direction. Then it simply draws that mesh into the current translation position. So the whole drawing is done in here rather than using the basic render mesh. Now the core of how the animations work is by essentially keeping a list of vertices and UVs. So here on the animation system, I have a struct for each quad. So each quad has 4 vertices and essentially 4 UVs. And each body part gets displayed in a single quad. So the head is a quad, the body is another quad, the hand another quad, and so on. Then all of those quads come together in order to make a single frame of animation. And as soon as the game starts, I essentially pre-calculate all of the meshes and store them in a list. So in here I have a dictionary that for each animation contains a list of each mesh for a single frame of animation. I've done a lot of testing in order to figure out the various methods for playing the animation, and this is the best one I found with regards to performance. When the game starts, everything is pre-calculated, and then during play mode, it simply grabs the correct mesh. So back here on the mesh display, as you can see, we are simply grabbing the mesh from the mesh list, which is based on that animation and that direction and the current frame. The current frame is increased by a different job in here. As you can see, it's very simple. It just goes through each entity that contains a skeleton data, increase the frame timer, which increases the current frame. Here in the scene view, we can go up here in order to enable shaded wireframe, and you can see that each of them is indeed made up of quads. So we have the head quad, the weapon quad, the foot, another foot, the body, and so on. So this is how the system works. Essentially, we pre-calculate a mesh containing all of the quads, and then during runtime, we simply select the correct mesh. Here, if we look at the entity debugger, you can see the entity count constantly increasing, and here is the skeleton mesh display system, which, as you can see, is increasing over time. So here with 200 entities, it's taking roughly 1 millisecond. So right now, this is the approach that I found best for performance. I've tested several ways of showing the animation, like dynamically creating the meshes, but keeping them cached works best. This way, I can have several thousand animated meshes and everything works. Over here on the display system, there are 2 performance bottlenecks that I need to improve. One of them is getting the mesh list in order to grab the correct mesh. This one is done by finding the mesh in a dictionary, which takes quite a while to calculate. So this one is quite simple to fix. We can simply use a normal array and calculate the index, and that would be quite a lot faster. And the other bottleneck is dealing with the mesh itself. Here, as you can see, all of this is running on a normal component system, so none of this code is being multi-threaded. It would be great if it was possible to update a mesh inside a job and maybe keeping just one mesh and modifying it instead of keeping a separate mesh. But since mesh is a reference type, it cannot be used inside the current job system. Also, it would be very useful if we could access the graphics API in a multi-threaded environment. I tried writing some multi-threaded code in order to draw the meshes, but the graphics API must be called on the main thread. So right now, this entire system is not benefiting from the job system. The more entities we have, the more cycle this function goes through, and the longer it takes. So that's how the mesh and the animation system work. It's all about pre-calculating all of the meshes and then simply selecting them in order to match the correct frame of animation. Then there's also the quadrant and targeting systems, which work very much together. However, in this case, since ECS is so insanely fast, I'm not sure if the quadrant system is really necessary. If the map was a lot bigger, it would probably make more sense, but for this little demo, not so much necessary, but still, here it is. Now, a quadrant is essentially a portion of the map. In this case, it's simply a square. Now down here I have a simple debug function which will draw each quadrant as I pass the mouse over it, so let's test this. So here we are with gizmos enabled, and as you can see as I pass the mouse over, this is essentially what a quadrant on the quadrant system is. This system is designed in order to make it easier to look for targets since you don't have to look through the entire entity list. So in here, for example, in this quadrant, you have this unit, and this unit. So if these were looking for targets, they wouldn't look for targets that were in this quadrant all the way over here. They only check the neighboring quadrants. So the entire goal is to put units into buckets based on position. So when this Marine is looking for a target, he's not looking through every single entity on the map, rather only the ones in the quadrants nearby. So as you can see, only when they enter that quadrant does he finally start to target them. The benefit is to limit the number of units you have to search through in order to find the closest. So this Marine in here will never ever ask for the position in order to see if this one is the closest zombie. It only looks for the ones nearby. Again, as I said, since the way that this is done works really fast, so in this case the quadrant system is not absolutely necessary, but if the map was massive, you can see how this Marine would not want to look for a zombie that would be all the way over here. So the bigger the map, the more important it is to have a sort of quadrant system. So here let's go over a quick overview of how the system works. Now this is certainly a great system and something I want to cover more in depth in another video since it involves some really interesting logic. Each entity, as you saw, contains a quadrant entity component. This is how we define which entities will be managed by the quadrant system. It simply contains the type, so either a Marine or a zombie. Now inside the quadrant system we are working with a native multi-hash map, which contains an int for the hash key and a quadrant data for the various values. As you can see, the quadrant data has the entity, the position, and the quadrant entity that is in there. This native container lets you store multiple values inside a single key. So inside a single position key, you can have multiple quadrant data. So that is how you have multiple units inside the same bucket. Then this function in here generates a key based on a certain position. It just does some math based on a certain cell size and ensures that units within a position near that cell always return the same key. So entities in the same quadrant will have the same hash key added to it. Now there are multiple jobs in order to make this whole thing work. The first one is this one to set the quadrant data on the hash map. So what this one does is it cycles through all the entities that contain a translation and a quadrant entity component. It gets the position hash map key and simply adds a new quadrant data on that hash map key. So here we are just positioning all the entities into their correct quadrants. After we set all the entities into their quadrants, then we have the find closest target job. This one cycles through every unit and it tries to get the closest target on the nearby quadrants. So you start with the center quadrant, then the one to the left, right, and so on. So you check all 9 nearby quadrants, and then at the end we have a closest target entity. Now in here, in order to benefit from the insane benefits of burst, instead of adding our has target component, we simply store the units and their targets into a native hash map. And after finding the closest target job, we have another job in order to set the target. This one does not use burst, since it uses the entity command buffer, and we simply use it in order to add the has target component with the closest target. I've done a video on how to find the closest target, so check that out to see a more in-depth look into how this logic works. And down here on the update, we are simply preparing all of our data and scheduling our various jobs. So first we position them in the hash map, then we cycle through all the units in order to find the closest, and then we add the component to the closest target. Again, here we are in our scene. You can see the highlighted quadrant, and down here on the console, you can see how many entities are inside this quadrant. So this one has 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, there are 6. And over here, the zombies are coming. So now it's got 0, and now it's increasing 1, and so on. And as you can see, as soon as it gets 1, these guys start looking for a target on this quadrant. So as soon as they enter, they start getting shot. And if we look at the entity debugger, you can see this entity, for example, has the has target component, which contains the position of his target and the entity field. Again, check out the video on finding the closest target in order to get a more in-depth look into how all of this works. So once the unit has a has target component, then we run another system. Over here is the Marine target zombie system. As you can see, it's running on every entity with translation, the play animation component, has target component, and the Marine shoot. So he checks if he can shoot. If so, he plays the shooting animation and he shoots the target entity. Now, the shooting and causing damage was an interesting problem to tackle. Doing AI in ECS is probably the most difficult thing to wrap your head around right now. In order to be super fast, it's really a requirement in order to use memory sequentially. That's essentially what the entity chunks do. Grabbing a piece of random memory for the target hurts things, so we need to minimize it as much as possible. So over here, my approach has been based on a queue of actions. So whenever the Marine shoots a target, he doesn't directly interact with the zombie in order to cause some damage, but rather he just enqueues that action. So that way this system for shooting the zombies runs in parallel. And then here I have the queued action system, which is running on just a simple component system, and it goes through all of the queued actions. So right now the only action is a Marine shooting a zombie. So here this code is running on the main thread, and it's what finally actually causes damage to the zombie. So we get the positions for the Marine, the zombie, then we have some bonus effects running on single-threaded code. All of these are not yet ported to ECS. So you can see here how you can mix and match, use some systems with ECS and some systems with normal game objects. Then here we grab the zombie health, we ask the entity manager in order to get the health component for the zombie entity. Once we get it, we reduce the health by the damage amount that is stored on the zombie action. And then we test if he's dead. Then we spawn a flying body, we destroy the entity, and we remove the component has target from the Marine entity. If he still has health, then we simply update the zombie health. So here, as you can see, for the AI, we separate it into two systems. So first we have the Marine. He does all of his data and shoots the zombies that he has as targets. He enqueues a specific action into a queued actions native queue. Then after this system runs with all of the Marine entities, we run our queued action system, which goes through all of that queued action queue, and we do everything we need to do in order to handle the interaction between the Marine and the zombies. Obviously, the biggest issue is in here we are using a component system, so this code is not Jobified at all. All of this runs on the main thread. That means it could potentially become a performance bottleneck. However, the number of actions that happen every single frame is likely to be quite small, so in most cases I think this specific pattern would work well in an ECS game. Again, making AI in ECS is a very tricky subject, so perhaps this is not the absolute best way of doing things. I continue learning as I go along, and for now this seemed like a good approach. So this is the complete simple demo scene. Our Marines are here standing around, the zombies are being spawned and they move towards them. As soon as they get close, the quadrant system works in order to find a target for each of these Marines. The animation system is working as you saw. Each animation frame is a mesh and we simply select it on every single frame. The zombies keep spawning. After a while they start spawning from the sides and they come from everywhere. More and more get spawned, more and more keep coming, and here you can see our stats. And right now you can see that this whole scene with all of these zombies, all of these units, is currently running at 100 frames per second. And again, a lot of these effects are not using ECS, so this could be improved even more. And more keep coming, and with all of these zombies, all of them working independently, all of them have their own AI, their own code, their own things, and we're still running at 60, 70 frames per second. And they all keep going, they keep getting overrun, and again I can still click in order to spawn a bunch more, so spawn more in order for them to breed a little, and yep, they are pushing them back and everything is working quite nice. So as you saw, there are still many areas that can be improved, but this already looks very nice for a pure ECS game and clearly demonstrates the performance benefits. Also, I'm still learning ECS myself, so what I've built here might not necessarily end up being the best practices for a pure ECS game. As time goes on and more people play around with ECS, the best practices will start to emerge. So hopefully you've enjoyed this nice little demo of what can be done with ECS. It's not necessarily a more difficult way, it's just a different way of thinking about how to write code and how to do things. As always, you can download the project files and utilities from unitycodemonkey.com. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel for more Unity tutorials. Post any questions you have in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Alright, see you next time.